Friends, we're talking today about the gifts that the Jews gave the world. And today we're at the end of the portion of Vayechi in the book of Genesis. And the 12th gift that we're talking about today is a white lie. Yes, that concept of white lie, a lie that we say when we are caught in a difficult situation. It's not a lie like the Greeks tricked the people of Troy when they entered with a Trojan horse. And it's not a huge lie, it's a small one. What is the difference between a lie, a big one, and a small one? Lying is lying. So what is that gift of a white lie that Judaism gives the world? In our week's portion, there's the story of Joseph and the brothers. Joseph and the brothers forgive each other. But after Jacob, their father, dies, there is a great fear. And they come to Joseph and they tell him as follows: your father, before he died, commanded us to tell you that you should forgive us for everything that we have done to you. And we look at the verses and the commentaries are saying, nowhere in the Bible did Jacob tell the brothers to tell Joseph that he should forgive them. It's an absolute lie. But why did they tell him so? Because they feared for their life. Maybe he will be vengeful. Maybe he will take revenge after the death of his father. So in order for them to escape sudden death, they could lie. And there's the birth of the white lie, according to the Bible, in the end of our portion. So today we're going to examine this fascinating concept of gift called the white lie. For people to lie in order to escape death is a given. At least according to Judaism. We know other philosophers like Kant said that truth should prevail under any circumstances. And if, for example, a person comes and threatens you and says, is there anyone in the house? I need to kill this individual. Is he in your house? And he is in your house. You cannot lie, says Kant, because truth is the ultimate value. And who says that is a greater value morally or less value morally than protecting someone's life? Maybe truth and life have the same value. But Judaism says no. The value of life is greater than the truth, and therefore a person should lie and say, no, he's not at home, and he escapes his destiny of sudden death by this individual that chases after him. But what about peace? Is that a greater value than truth? And here the Talmud brings us two examples. One we just said with Joseph. In order to bring peace amongst the brothers, then we can tell a lie. But he brings it even greater. The Talmud brings even a greater example. When God comes to Sarah and says, you're going to have a child. Sarah says, I'm going to have a child. My master, which means Abraham, is old. When God relates this story to Abraham, he changes the words. He does not say to Abraham, Sarah told about you that you are old and you cannot have any children. He says to Abraham, Sarah laughed out loud, saying, I am old and I could not bear children. God changes the verses. Why? To bring peace and harmony between this couple, Abraham and Sarah. So you can change the truth. You can tell a white lie in order to bring peace and harmony in the house. And that's what the Talmud relates to us. But the Talmud does not only relate that you can tell a white lie. It changes the terminology regarding truth and false. And the terminology becomes different. We're not talking anymore about truth, which is a factual truth. In terms of facts, what is the exact fact? Is it true or not? We're talking about moral truth. If what was done here, was it true or not? not in terms of factual, but in terms of values, ethics, morals. Is it true? And we know that values usually contradict each other. But what comes out of these stories in the Talmud of Abraham and Jacob and Joseph and his brothers is that values always contradict. Freedom, liberty, and equality contradict. We see that in capitalism, where freedom is much more important than equality, but by communism, equality is much more important than freedom. And therefore, the two absolute values cannot coexist. Same thing for truth and peace. Both of them cannot coexist totally. So something has to give. Or, says the Talmud and Judaism, the terminology has to change. We understand absolute values of truth and of peace, tranquility, and of harmony. But now Judaism comes and says, let's examine this concept of truth. And let's bring forward the concept of a white lie. And today we're going to examine that concept of white lie. What is the limitations of white lies? We'll start with a famous story in the Midrash, in the Hebrew or Jewish literature. When God wanted to create man, all the angels came and said to him, you're creating this creature. He's a liar. He's going to be a thief. He's going to be a wreck. Don't create him. God took the truth and threw it into the ground and said, from now on, the truth has to grow and rise from the earth. Which means that the truth is no longer an absolute truth. It's a truth that has to deal with compromise all the time. Because the absolute truth and absolute values destroy the world. And when they come into coexistence with other values and rise from the earth as something that brings compromise to the world, then the values are actually more suited to this world. And one of the greater examples of this is the story in the Talmud about Beit Shammai and Beit Hillel. How can truth and harmony coexist? There's a bride, and the bride does not look so good. Let's say she's even a little ugly. And the two schools of thought of the sages in the first century say as follows: when you go to that wedding, you should sing to her. The school of Hillel says you should sing and praise her. What a beautiful bride. After all, it's her wedding day. The school of Shammai says, are you going to tell a lie? You should tell her exactly how she looks, even if she's despicable, even if she's ugly and horrendous. Now let's put aside the irony or the humor in this scenario. But Beit Shammai represents the truth. That's how it is. The school of Hillel represents the compromise. So who will prevail? We know that the Jewish law goes according to the school of Hillel. Because truth is raised from the ground. Truth is born again within compromise. And that's how we go by. We go by Beit Hillel, the school of Hillel. That truth has to be with a compromise. A white lie has to be told. And if you want to see the most fascinating example of a white lie in this world, we're going to look at the following response. Reb Moshe Feinstein, one of the greatest rabbis in America in the last century, was asked a question about a union between a couple. And you know, the religious individuals are getting into this union with a matchmaker. And when they sit with a matchmaker and he makes the match between them, there's a lot of misinformation. And religious couples don't see each other before the marriage. Obviously, they do not be together or live in the same house or have marital relations. But this individual, this woman, had relations before. And this individual that she wants to meet is a religious individual, and he will not take her if he knows that she's not a virgin. So should she tell him on the first date or not? It's very important to him. He wouldn't date her if he knew. Rabbi Moshe Feinstein says as follows, and let me quote: you should not tell him on the first date, because when he sees you on the first sight, seeing, and he does not know, after a few dates, when he gets to know you deeper, then you should tell him, because then it might not matter to him so much. What is Rabbi Moshe Feinstein trying to tell us here? This world is a world of lies, not white ones, but black ones. We live in a world of masks. We live in a world that lies surround us all the time. We're not honest with each other. Those that are very moral and just usually find themselves in the bottom of the barrel. Those that are despicable usually are raised up and being praised. This is an upside down world where lies prevail, and they are black ones. That's the society that we live in. It's a society that we go by the sight of our eyes more than listening with our ears. And the sight of our eyes deceives us. It gives us a very superficial understanding of the reality. And it's very hard to penetrate that superficial reality. How do we penetrate that black cloud that surrounds us all the time? That misconception, that bad notion that we have and we don't know that we have. That superficial understanding of the situation that we're surrounded by. We're surrounded by black lies. This world is a lie. Come the sages and says, in order to penetrate, to let some light come in to this world, use the same tool. Take a white lie and pierce this great mask and let the light come in. Use the same tactic. Use a white lie in order to erase the black lie. And that's what happens with this answer. These two individuals are meant to be together. After he meets her, he wants to be with her. Her past is shoved aside. But he cannot approach if she tells him in the beginning. Yes, she will tell the truth. But is that the truth? Not being with someone because of his past? No, that's the greatest lie in the world. How can we get past that? We get past that by telling a small white lie, piercing the great darkness that surrounds us, and letting the light, the moral truth, come and shine in this world. And that's how emet and shalom, truth and peace and harmony, dwell together. That's the greatest gift, or one of them, that Judaism gave the world the ability with a white lie to pierce all the black lies that surround us, and to coin the term truth again, not into factual ones, but into moral truths, ethical truths, and truths that are based on values. This is our gift, a white lie.